The broken silence. The cold black of space stretched endlessly around the old Earth ship, Hope Runner. Its metal skin was scarred with burns, bullet marks, and rust from too many battles. Inside, the lights flickered. The crew had been silent for hours. No one knew what to say anymore. Captain Ray sat at the front staring at a blank screen. He had once been a young man full of fire. Now his eyes were tired. The war had taken too much. His crew was all that was left of Earth's last military unit. And Earth? Earth was gone. Beside him, Lena slowly adjusted the signal relay. She was the only comms officer still alive. Her voice was always calm, but now it trembled. "Sir," she whispered, "signal array is repaired. We can send one last message." Ray didn't answer. He looked at the cracked screen ahead. He knew what he had to say. They had argued about it for days, what Earth's final message should be. Should it be a cry for help, a warning, a curse? "We lost," said a voice from the back. It was Thomas, the engineer. "But they should know. They need to remember us." Ray nodded slowly. "Yes, they will." He stood and walked to the message station. His hands shook as he pressed the buttons. The ship's core was nearly empty of power. They only had enough for one final transmission. One message across the stars. The enemy had never feared humans. The Valari Empire believed Earth was weak, simple, emotional. They laughed. When Earth joined the Galactic War, they thought it would be over in a week. But Earth didn't fall quickly. No, humans fought like wolves. Desperate, clever, wild. Earth's cities burned, but so did the Valari's great ships. Billions died on both sides. And when Earth's final shield broke, the humans didn't beg. They sent out fighters with nothing but knives and bombs. They kept fighting even when their oxygen ran out. Ray leaned over the mic. His voice cracked with emotion. "This is Captain Ray of the Earth ship Hope Runner. We are the last. Earth is no more." There was silence. Then he continued. "To the Valari Empire, you think you've won. You think the war is over. But I promise you, this war will break you forever." His voice grew stronger. "You didn't defeat us. You survived us. There's a difference. You'll hear screams in your dreams for generations. You'll see our fire in the eyes of every human, child born in the colonies. We will rebuild, and when we do, we will remember what you did." He paused. The room was silent. "We lost our world, but you lost your peace." Lena pressed the button. The message shot out into deep space, towards every listening station still, alive. Ray sank into his chair. He felt heavy, but he didn't regret it. "That's it," Tomas said quietly. "Now we drift," Ray said, staring out into the stars. The ship had no fuel left, no more weapons. Just 3 people floating in the dark, with the weight of a broken world behind them. But out there, far away, someone was listening. And somewhere, a young alien soldier would soon hear the voice of Earth's fury. A voice that would haunt the galaxy forever. The Valari hear the message far across the galaxy. Deep inside the shining command tower of Velar Prime, the message reached them. Commander Jorak sat in a tall metal chair. His armor was gold and red, symbols of victory etched across the chest. Around him, his officers celebrated. The war was over. Earth was gone. Another stubborn world, crushed under the weight of the Valari Empire. A sharp beep stopped the celebration. "Sir, incoming transmission," said a young officer, eyes wide. Jorak raised an eyebrow. "From where?" The officer looked confused. "An old Earth signal, encrypted, low strength." Jorak leaned forward. "Play it." The lights dimmed. A voice filled the room. "This is Captain Ray of the Earth ship Hope Runner. We are the last. Earth is no more. To the Valari Empire." The room fell into silence. The alien officers watched, listened, and frowned. The voice was broken but powerful, angry, deep. "You think you've won? You think the war is over? But I promise you, this war will break you forever. Jorek's fingers tightened on his armrest. The message continued. There was no fear in the human's voice, only fire. You didn't defeat us. You survived us. One officer stood up. Shall I erase the message, sir? No, Jorek said, slowly rising to his feet. Send it to High Command. Let them hear it too. The officer blinked. Even the Grand Council? Yes, everyone. The celebration was over. A cold feeling spread through the room like a shadow. The humans were dead, but they hadn't gone quietly. They had cursed the Empire with words stronger than weapons. On the edge of Valari space, young pilot Darrow was on patrol. He had never fought in the war. He had been a child when it ended. To him, Earth was just a name in history. Then the message came. His ship AI played it. At first he didn't understand the words, but the longer he listened, the more he felt something strange, a chill deep in his bones. This war will break you forever. Darrow shook his head. Why do I feel like he's talking to me? The AI replied, because he is. Within days, the message spread across Valari space. Some laughed, some were angry, but many, too many, were afraid, because the humans had fought like no one else. They had turned every rock into a weapon. They had launched ships from dying cities. Even when Earth's moon was split in half, the humans didn't give up. Now their final message was everywhere, and the question whispered in the halls of Valari power was simple. What if they return? Back on the Hope Runner, Ray watched the screen flicker. The message had been sent. Now only silence remained. How long do you think before they hear it? Lena asked. Not long, Ray said. They have ears everywhere. Thomas leaned against the wall. Do you think it will matter? Ray looked at him. Yes, he said. Even ghosts can shake an empire. The ship creaked softly. Life support was weak, power low. They had food for maybe 3 more days, but none of them spoke of it. They had done what they came to do, sent the last cry of Earth into the stars. And now, they waited to die, knowing that somewhere out there, the monsters who destroyed their home would feel fear. For the first time. A spark in the dust, the message moved faster than light. From satellite to satellite, station to station, it jumped through the cold void. In every corner of Valari-controlled space, someone heard Earth's voice. On the mining moon of Tolvan 6, old war veteran Carr sat in his bunk. His limbs were metal, replaced after a brutal human ambush on lunar site Delta. He had survived, but barely. He listened to the message with a heavy heart. Ray's voice echoed in his ears. You survived us. There's a difference. Carr closed his eyes. He remembered the screams, the burning skies, the humans who fought like they had nothing left to lose. He remembered the last one he saw, a young girl with a broken leg, pulling the pin on a grenade. As she smiled at him, it was no lie. The war had broken something inside him, and now the message reopened that wound. Back on Valar Prime, the Grand Council met in secret. We should erase the message from every network, said Elder Therrell. And then what? Replied Senta, head of defense. Pretend it never happened? Pretend they didn't burn 20 of our core fleets? It's only words, said another. Senta slammed a datapad on the table. Words are how rebellions begin. Silence followed. Then a small voice spoke up. The colonies are listening too, said Assistant Mira. Many of them admire the humans. They say Earth never bowed. They're fools, someone muttered. Or maybe they're just tired of living under fear, Mira whispered in. The far reaches of the neutral zone hidden inside an asteroid base. Human survivors watched the message spread. These were not soldiers. They were engineers, teachers, children, refugees from Earth's fall. A boy named Liam sat beside his mother. They had found the message on an old scout ship just hours ago. It had been Ray's voice, her friend from the early days of the war. He's still alive, she whispered. Liam looked up. Can we go to him? His mother didn't answer. Her eyes were full of tears. The message had lit a fire in their hearts, a reminder that humanity wasn't done yet. Maybe Earth was gone, but not its spirit, not its people. Aboard the Hope Runner, Thomas slowly opened a ration pack. It was the last full one. "No more after this," he said. Lena took a small piece and handed it to Ray. "We've done what we could. Maybe we should sleep. Save air." Ray didn't answer. His eyes were on the stars. "Do you hear that?" Lena paused. "Hear what?" Ray pointed to the comms console. A faint signal blinked. Lena rushed over. "It's a human signal, very weak." Thomas leaned in. "Could be a trap." Ray stood. "Or it could be survivors." Lena tuned the system, sweat on her brow. "It's coming from Sector K-22. That's not far. Maybe a few days at full power." Thomas sighed. "We don't have full power." Ray stared at the screen. "Then we give it all we've got." They didn't know who was out there, but someone had heard them. Someone had answered. The message had become a beacon. Hope was rising again, quietly, like a flame under ash. And in the cold chambers of Valari High Command, Commander Jorak watched as reports poured in, colonies refusing orders, Valari veterans refusing to fight again, and whispers, always whispers, of something stirring in the stars. It was just a message, just a voice, but it had done what no weapon could. It had made the mighty Valari Empire afraid. And in the quiet of his chamber, Jorak finally said it aloud. "They were right, this war will break us, and it's only just begun." Echoes of Earth. The Hope Runner moved slowly through the black. Its engines were weak, but they pushed forward. Ray, Lena, and Thomas sat in silence, watching the blinking signal on their screen. Someone was out there. A human signal. A call that reached them after their own had gone out. Ray whispered, "I didn't think anyone would answer." Lena smiled softly. "You were wrong, Captain." Tomas adjusted the cooling system. The ship groaned. "If we push too hard, we'll lose everything." Ray stood tall. "Then we push just enough to find them." In the hidden asteroid base, the survivors worked fast. The signal from the Hope Runner had been received, but it was faint. They needed to reply before the trail was lost. Elder Marek, the oldest survivor there, looked at the flickering screen. "If they're alive, we owe them more than silence." A young technician named Juno adjusted the transmitter. "We'll boost the signal using the old mining antenna, but it will light us up. Valari scouts could see it." "We take that risk," Marek said firmly. "Earth stood alone, but we don't have to." The signal shot out like a spear into deep space. Across dust clouds and dead zones, it raced toward the Hope Runner. Commander Jorak stood in the war archives of Valar Prime. The long halls were quiet, filled with trophies. Human weapons, broken flags, burnt uniforms. Once symbols of victory, now they felt like warnings. He tapped a console. The message from Hope Runner played again. "This war will break you forever." His second-in-command, Sarah, entered. "Sir, something new. We detected a power burst. From an asteroid in Sector K-22. Jorak turned. "Another signal?" "Yes, from humans. Survivors." Jorak frowned. "After all this time?" "They're gathering, sir. Not as an army yet, but the spark is lit." Jorak walked to a shattered Earth rifle in a display case. "They never needed many. Just enough to remind us who they are." Back on the Hope Runner, the signal grew stronger. Lena gasped. "They," replied. "Location locked. Asteroid base confirmed human code," Thomas shouted. "Yes," Ray smiled. "Plot course. Let's go meet our future." But the system beeped again. A second alert. Lena read the screen. Valari scout ship, heading toward the same asteroid. Ray's smile faded. "They heard it too." Tomas asked, "Do we run?" Ray looked at him with hard eyes. "No, we get there first or we die trying." In the asteroid base, panic spread. "They're coming," Juno said. "Valari scouts on approach. We have maybe 5 hours." Elder Marek nodded. Prepare the children for evac. Hide the old tech. Burn what can't be moved. But we can't fight, someone shouted. We're not fighting, Merrick said. We're surviving. Again, he looked to the sky. And we're not alone. The Hope Runner flew through debris and rock. The engine's burning hot. Any faster and we blow the core, Thomas warned. Ray didn't blink. We'll rebuild the core. We can't rebuild people. The asteroid base came into view. Small, dark, but full of life. Lights blinked from inside. And then, on the far side, a Valari ship appeared. They're early, Lena said. Ray stood by. Then we make them late. He opened the weapon controls. The ship had only 2 missiles left. Thomas stared. That's all we've got. Ray smiled coldly. That's all we need. The asteroid shook as the Hope Runner fired. 1 missile struck the Valari's sensor dish. The other hit their side thrusters. It wasn't enough to destroy them, but enough to slow them. Inside the asteroid base, Juno saw the explosion. They made it. They're fighting for us. The children clapped. Merrick wept quietly. Earth still breathes. As the Valari ship turned to counterattack, the Hope Runner dove behind the rocks. Its power core flared. Sparks flew from the control panels. Ray shouted, "Emergency glide! Take us into the docking tunnel." Thomas pulled the lever. The ship groaned, scraped against the rock and slid into the base's main corridor. Inside, the humans ran forward. Doors opened. Lights came on. And for the first time in years, 2 groups of survivors stood face to face. Ray stepped out, face tired but proud. Merrick walked forward. "Welcome home, Captain." Ray nodded. "No," he said. "Welcome back, Earth." The fire returns. The docking bay was filled with voices, shocked, joyful, full of life. For the first time in years, scattered human survivors stood together. Some cried, some laughed. Others just stood in silence, trying to believe it was real. Ray looked around at the crowd. The asteroid base was old, cold, and poorly lit, but it felt more like Earth than anything he had seen in years. Marek led him down a hallway filled with old gear and broken screens. "We kept the lights on," Marek said. "Hoped someone would come. We didn't think it would be you." Ray smiled. "I didn't think I'd be alive long enough." Lena and Thomas followed, taking in every face, every hallway, every reminder of the world they'd lost. In the command center, young Juno played back the external sensors. "The Valari ship is still out there. It's damaged, but they're not leaving. They're waiting for reinforcements." Ray leaned over the screen. "They know we're gathering. This is no longer just a scout mission for them." Tomas asked, "How much time do we have?" Juno checked the readings. "Maybe 2 days, maybe less." Lena turned to Ray. "We need to decide now, run or stand." Ray looked at the blinking radar, then at the faces around him, then back to Marek. "How many people here can still fight?" Marek shrugged. 100, maybe more. Some haven't seen a gun in years. "We don't need perfect soldiers," Ray said. "We need humans." In the depths of Valari space, Commander Jorak read the latest report. Human signal flare confirmed. Ship Hope Runner located. Survivors gathering. Small base. Old tech. He stood before a council of generals. "Then crush it," one barked. Jorak didn't speak for a moment. He stared at the glowing stars on the map. "They've united, and worse, they believe again." "We are the Valari Empire," another shouted. "They are nothing." Jorak turned, eyes sharp. They were nothing. Now they're fire again. Back in the asteroid base, Ray stood before the crowd. "I won't lie to you," he began. "They know where we are. They're coming to finish the job they started. Years ago." He paused, letting the silence grow. "We don't have fleets, we don't have power, but we have something they don't." He stepped forward. "We have pain, memory, fire. We remember what they did to Earth, and that memory will carry us through." Lena added, "We'll fight with whatever we've got. Tools, wires, explosives. Like we always have. Thomas lifted. An old rifle. If we go down, we make them pay. Cheers rang out, not loud but strong. The next hours were spent preparing. Old weapons were cleaned, explosives rigged. Defense turrets powered up for the first time in years. Children helped carry supplies, the injured helped load batteries. No one stood idle. In the control room, Lena watched the radar. The Volari ship was circling now, probing, testing. "They're waiting," she said. "Trying to scare us." Ray replied, "Let them try." Thomas walked in. "We turned the mining shafts into traps. If they enter through the lower decks, it won't go well for them." Juno smirked. "We're not running." Ray shook his head. "Not this time." Aboard the Volari ship, Subcommander Relin watched the asteroid on the screen. "Orders, sir?" The Volari captain frowned. "They're preparing to fight." Relin laughed. "Good. Makes it easier to crush them." But even as he spoke, his eyes lingered on the human message still playing on a loop across Volari networks. "This war will break you forever." He turned it off. For the first time, he felt something he couldn't name. Back in the asteroid base, Ray sat alone for a moment in the dark. He pulled out a tiny object from his pocket, a metal pin with the Earth flag scratched onto it. He held it tightly. "We're still here," he whispered. Behind him, Lena entered quietly. "You okay?" Ray nodded. "Just remembering." She sat beside him. "We don't need Earth to fight like Earth." Ray smiled. "No, we just need to be human." When shadows fall, the warning sirens echoed through the asteroid. Juno shouted, "They're coming! Multiple heat signatures, fast drop pods entering the rock's surface." Ray jumped to his feet. "This is it. All teams to positions." All. Across the base, humans rushed into place. Some carried old rifles. Others had mining tools turned into weapons. Young and old stood together, ready to defend the last spark of Earth. In one tunnel, Thomas adjusted the detonator on a wall. "When they step here, the ceiling falls, just like we used to do on Mars." In another corridor, Lena led a small group of defenders. "Remember, small shots, quick movements, stay low, stay sharp." The lights dimmed as the power shifted to defense systems. Then the walls shook. The Volari were inside. The enemy soldiers were fast, armored in dark red, and moving in perfect lines. They expected weakness, panic, but they found traps. One step forward, and the floor blew open. A turret sprang from the wall and lit up the corridor. A human boy threw a homemade firebomb down the shaft, and through it all, a voice echoed across. "The base speakers, this war will break you forever." Ray stood in the main hallway, rifle in hand. He looked more like a ghost than a man, but his eyes were bright. He waited until the first squad came into sight, then fired. They dropped. He didn't stop. In the command center, Juno's hands flew across the panel. "They've breached the lower levels, but they're moving slow. We're making them bleed." Lena's voice came through the comms. "They tried to flank us. We sealed the vent shafts. They're trapped in Section 7. Tomas reported next. "We blew the mining shaft, took down 10 of them," Merrick added. "They're scared. I can hear it in their comms." Ray's voice cut in. "Don't let up. Make them regret ever hearing Earth's name." Inside the Volari command dropship, Subcommander Relin paced. "This is taking too long," he growled. One officer replied, "They've turned the whole place into a death maze." Relin cursed. "They're rats, dirty, broken rats." But even as he spoke, more reports came in. Lost units, traps, confusion. And above it all, that message still haunted the channel. "You didn't defeat us. You survived us." Relin shut off the channel. "Enough." Back on the ground, a blast shook the upper corridor. Dust and flame rained down. Ray was thrown back. Lena ran to him, pulling him to cover. "You still breathing?" Ray coughed. "Barely." "Good. That means you're still in the fight." Ray smiled through the blood. Remind me to never give a speech again. Hours passed. The battle raged on. Humans fought like they always had. Dirty, clever, fierce. Every hallway was a trap. Every corner was a stand. And slowly, the Valari broke. Not because they were weak, but because the humans refused to fall. By dawn, if the stars could be called that out here, the Valari pulled back. Their commander gave the order, retreat. The asteroid shook one last time as the last drop pods fled. Silence. Thomas limped into the hallway, smoke rising behind him. They're gone. Cheers erupted, cries of joy, shouts of victory, tears. Lena hugged a young girl, covered in dust. You were brave. The girl nodded. Like Earth was. Ray stood in the center of it all. He looked around at the tired, wounded but unbroken crowd. He raised a fist. We're still here. They raised theirs in reply. Across Valari space, word spread like fire. The humans had fought again and won, not with ships, not with armies, but with belief, with the fire of a people who had lost everything, and still fought back. In secret meetings, Valari generals argued. In dark corners of colonies, slaves whispered, and in the minds of those who heard Earth's final message, fear returned, because it wasn't over. The humans had survived. And now, they remembered how to fight. Earth lives on. The asteroid base was quiet now. Smoke drifted through the halls. Some walls were scorched. Metal panels hung loose from the ceiling, and yet life filled the air. Laughter. Crying. The hum of power systems turning back on. Victory had not come without pain. 25 humans had fallen in the fight, but hundreds had stood, and most had survived. Ray walked through the base slowly, greeting each person. He had no fancy words, just nods, a hand on the shoulder, a quiet, thank you. Tomas sat on a crate, leg wrapped in cloth. I think I'm officially done getting shot at. Juno chuckled. You've been saying that for 10 years. Tomas grinned. This time I mean it. In the center hall, a new symbol had been painted on the wall. A broken earth, with fire rising from it. Underneath were words in both human and Valari script. We are the ashes. We are the fire. Lena stood before it, her eyes full of quiet pride. Marek stepped beside her. You know what this means, don't you? She nodded. It means Earth isn't a place anymore. It's a people. Smiled, and they'll never erase that. Far away in a dark chamber on Valar Prime, Commander Jorak watched a replay of the asteroid battle. He had requested the full footage. Every camera, every sound, every detail. He paused on the moment where Ray stood with his people, fists raised. One small, wounded group, defying an empire. Jorak whispered, We thought the war was over. Behind him, a younger officer asked, Should we strike back, sir? Jorak didn't answer right away. No, he finally said. Not now. They're not just soldiers anymore. They're something else. He turned to a dark map of the galaxy. They're a spark we should have crushed, but now it's spreading. A week later, deep in the outer systems, a message was sent across human survivor channels. A voice spoke calmly, but clearly. This is Captain Ray, speaking to all colonies, survivors and drifters. The Hope Runner has joined the asteroid base at K-22. We have supplies, we have weapons, and we're building more. He paused. We're not asking for revenge, but we will not be hunted anymore. Another pause. If you hear this, come home. It's not Earth, but it's something new, something strong, something human. And then, as if the galaxy had been holding its breath, responses poured in. Old colony ships, hidden resistance cells, forgotten outposts, all answering the call. Thomas stood beside the ship's fresh power core, rebuilt with the help of engineers from the base. Feels like the old days, he said. Ray nodded. The good part or the bad part? Thomas laughed. Both. Lena joined them. We've got reports of 3 more survivor ships heading in. One has medics, another carries builders, and one, she paused, is full of fighters. Ray looked at the stars. They heard us, Lena smiled. No, they remembered us. Later that night, Ray sat alone near the comms station. He pulled out the metal earth pin again, brushing dust from it. Then he turned on the recorder. Message. To any Valari command listening, he said, we're still here. He leaned in, voice low, and we're not afraid anymore. He clicked the transmitter off and leaned back in his chair. No more running, no more silence, just the sound of humans preparing for a future. Not born from fear, but forged in fire, a future where Earth lived again, not as a planet, but as a promise.